He'll be joined up here with Eugene Anangwe, and I'll try not to introduce Anangwe in his style. I won't do him justice. Welcome. Welcome.
1, 2. Good afternoon. You have your phones, eh? So make sure you tweet and tweet and tweet. Let's spread this conversation as far as it can go, right? Good. So my name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. I sit here knowing that we have very little time, but we need to have a very inspiring conversation. And of course, that is the context I'm going to put this conversation. We have young people here who are aspiring to become people of substance in the society, and they do not know how they can be able to get there. And that is why I have my very able guest right here with me. And of course, Patrice Motsepe is a South African, as we heard in the house. All the South Africans, oye. Now, he is the founder and executive chairman of African Rainbow Minerals, which has interest in gold, ferrous metals, base metals, and platinum. He also sits in several company boards, including being the non-executive chairman of Harmony Gold, the 12th largest gold mining company in the world, and is the deputy chairman of Sanlam. Listen to this. If we have soccer fans right here, he also owns a football club called Mamelodi Sundowns. Something that touches me a lot about my guest right here is that in 2002, he was named South Africa's richest man, of course, but that didn't end there. In 2013, he joined the Giving Pledge, which was started by a group of billionaires who committed to giving half of their wealth to charitable causes. Patrice, Akon also had really great words for you. And I know that you were not just born and found yourself in this position. Young people here and the people who are seated here would love to know, what was the journey like? What were those moments that you had to go through to get you to sit in the position you sit today?
Well, everybody in this room, every young person can achieve their dreams, can be what they want to be. The key is hard work, sacrifice, and perseverance. And what is also important is you will find people who will tell you, you want to start a new business, and they'll say to you, it will not succeed. Because there's so much competition. There are companies that have been there longer than you, more money, more infrastructure, and more resources. But if you look at the most successful entrepreneurs, but also the most successful professionals, whether it's doctors, lawyers, scientists, engineers, teachers, nurses, the common factor is determination to work hard, to sacrifice, and to pursue the fulfillment of their dreams.
Right. And in the conversations that have been happening right here, one of the key things that even some participants here said, a young person was like, we lack role models. We do not have enough people who can inspire us, spark the fire in our stomachs to be able to run out there and take advantage of the opportunities out there. But when I look at you and when I read your story, would you say that young people are looking at the wrong direction?
No, not at all. So some of the most successful young Africans are recognized and respected in America, in Europe, in different parts of the world. And for them to have, we've got one of them here today, for them to have achieved and to have been recognized as the best chartered accountant, the best doctor, the best entrepreneur, the best scientist in a foreign country is because they are exceptional. One of the key issues is we have to make things happen. We've got to do things. You know, I go around the continent and meet lots of young people, and it's also a learning experience for me because you need to hear what they see, what they expect of us, because we have a duty. Mm-hmm. We have a duty to all of the young people on the continent. But the most important thing is you've got to move from thinking and planning and preparing to starting, mm-hmm. to implementing, mm-hmm. to making things happen. Mm-hmm. And don't get discouraged if you fail. I've had so many failures in my life and have made so many mistakes, and I always pray that I don't make the same mistake again, because hopefully when you make a mistake, you want to learn from that mistake. But the key issues, and I know that I'm going to make many, many other mistakes in future, mm-hmm. but that should never discourage you. Right. You've got to have a sense of self-belief and self-confidence, and just open that restaurant, start that app, start that grocery store, start that agricultural business you want to start with, and get going. Right.
I'm sure there are some people here who are listening to you, and probably they are going through this kind of failures, and they're feeling sort of like giving up. It would be nice to hear from you. What has been your biggest failure that did not stop you, did not make you sit back and say, you know what, it's the end of the road right here?
Well, two things. One of the failures that immediately comes to mind is in the Free State, and we've got the mayor of Welkom here, which is one of the biggest gold areas on the continent. We've got about 30,000 people who work there in our operations. But we bought mines that were old, that were unprofitable, that were marginal, and that other people could not make money from. And we turned them around because we basically paid the workers more based on profitability. Mm-hmm. So if we made money, there was more to share for the workers. And the same applies if we didn't make money, all of us felt the pain. Mm-hmm. But we were competing to buy mines in the Free State. And there were 3 other companies that were competing with us. And the mistake we did was we did not do a proper due diligence. Now, due diligence for some of our youth who are here means before you buy something, for example, if you want to buy a house, before you buy the house, you go there and see, is the roof leaking? Are the walls okay? Mm-hmm. Are the garages there? Mm-hmm. Because you may think that the house has got 6 rooms when it only has 4 rooms, right. And you pay for 6 rooms. So we didn't do a proper due diligence, meaning to go and investigate and study. And we beat, and to make worse, we paid more than the other 3 companies that were competing. So we never made the money back that we invested in that business. And the lesson for us was, in future, before you buy anything, take the time that is required, do the necessary research, study, assessment, evaluation, and the most important thing, don't pay more than what you think the business is worth.
Right. Very important. Listen. Yeah. There's something that definitely comes to mind when you talk about that. And, today's young generation, we seem to have, the amount of cars, the amount of money you have in your bank, the kind of car you drive, these are some of the indicators that today's sort of young people see to indicate success. So I want you to take some minutes and just talk to young people who probably think that this is what determines how wealthy you are or how you've made it, and they want it quick. There are some of us who want get rich quick or have that get rich quick mentality. So through your journey and to where you are today, what can you tell this kind of people?
Well, the most important thing is to be happy at what you're doing. Mm-hmm. That is so important. And there are many. I'll give you an example. There's a professor who studied with me at university. Lots of integrity, good person, very loyal and hardworking. And 5 years after I started African Rainbow Minerals, I went to him and I said, how much do you earn? And he said to me, I'm earning $7,000 a month. I said, whoa. How are you doing with the $7,000? He said, I would like more money, but the 7,000 is what and I said to him, I will pay you $14,000 a month. And in fact, I said, I'll pay you $20,000 a month. Come and work with me.
Why? Why are you saying this?
Well, let me tell you what is even more important. And he said to me, I want you to keep our conversation just between the two of us. Because if my wife hears that I was offered first 14 and it went to $20,000 and I did not accept it, I may have to sleep away from home for a very long time. But what he taught me, he said to me, you know, Patrice, I've been a lecturer for the last 20 years. And I see these students who come to this university, some very average, some uninspired, some don't know, their parents force them to come to university. And I work hard to make them special students, excellent students. The joy, he said the joy I get and the fulfillment I get from seeing a student who was undirected, no ambition, no hunger, at the end of the year, very committed, hardworking, enthusiastic about the future, gives me so much fulfillment, more fulfillment than the money I could get for the more money.
Right.
So the most important thing is, we mustn't all want to become entrepreneurs. That's incorrect. We mustn't all want to become doctors. That's incorrect. We mustn't all want to become engineers, and those things are very important. We must become that which we enjoy the most.
Powerful.
And when we do that, if you make a lot of money in the process, wonderful. But you'll wake up every morning being fulfilled, being motivated, being happy, and you will succeed, and you will make money long term.
Right. Great. Key takeaway point right there is fulfillment. Do what fulfills you. Now, we've also had here.
You can also say, follow your passion.
Follow your passion.
Follow your passion.
Sadly, some people say that passion will not feed me. I will not eat passion. What do you tell them?
You sound like my cousin in South Africa now. No, without a doubt, we have to live a good life. That's very important. And part of a good life is we've got to earn good money. And the key to working good money, or earning good money, when you are young, starts with education.
Right.
I remember when I was a student, and I'm happy my wife is not here, so I can say it very quickly. During the year when everybody else was studying, I was at times going to parties. Not very smart, because you should be studying. And when the exam comes a few months before the exam, when those who've been working are sleeping, I would be up at night because I've got to catch up. So the key issue is that every one of us here today, every one of our young people, the most important thing for now and where you are now is get an education and study and work hard, because that is the most important thing you can do. And when you are finished with your studies, and of course, even when you study in the area that you love, not the area that your father tells you, or no, I'm not saying you should not listen to your father. Listen to your father. But I'm saying, or even worse, don't become an engineer because your father was an engineer. Become that which excites you the most, and as you say, you will succeed, because make sure that if you become, for example, a doctor, you become the best doctor, right? And you will, in that process, earn more money, right? And live, as you say, money is important to live a good life, and you will make money.
Right. Good stuff. Most businesses, do not live to see their second year or second birthday, to celebrate their second birthday. And the most, burning issue to most young people who start up businesses is usually capital. Becomes one of the challenges that they say, access to finance to be able to start. And looking at your own journey, it would be nice if you share some tidbits on some of the practical ways that young people, practical but smart, that young people can use that want to start up their small businesses to be able to, get started.
That is a problem that young people all over the world experiences. Not just young people in Rwanda or Tanzania or Uganda or South Africa, all over the world. I was president of business in South Africa, and we had meetings with thousands of entrepreneurs and young entrepreneurs. And some say, I go to the bank and ask for money, and they want security, and they want collateral. Now, I've just started. Security means I've got something to give the bank that the bank will take
in case you default.
In case I don't pay my money. So they want security, I don't have security. They want collateral, I don't have collateral. And I can't, in the first instance, get a loan. But the second thing, if I do succeed to get a loan, the interest rates are so high that I spend the first 5 years with nothing for myself, but all going back to the bank. So what we need to do is, if we want to stimulate entrepreneurship, and I'll tell you something interesting. If you look at America, for example, America is still the country, unlike any other, that gives loans and facilities and finance at a very competitive rate. So what we will have to do in Africa, your commercial banks will not provide the sort of soft loans that will allow entrepreneurs to succeed. And another key issue, of course, is that we are not asking for loans for businesses that are not sustainable or profitable. We're talking about those that are competitive, that are sustainable, and that are profitable should be considered for loans. Part of the solution has to be that, the governments will have to play a role. It's not. There was a gentleman called Professor Yunus with the Brahmaputra Bank. He got a Nobel Peace Prize. We met him many years ago, and they are working. They've got this microfinance for women, and they're doing exceptionally well. But we can explore microfinance. But we are living in an era where there's a need for new thinking, innovation, new ways of doing things, including new ways of providing finance to the youth that will allow them to, in the first instance, get the loan for the businesses that deserve the loans, and in the second instance, be in a position to pay back those loans and have capital that they can use for future growth.
Right. When you tell me that, I also remember what was said here in the course of the conversations that have been taking place here, that one, we need to start doing things differently. Two, that we need to create convenient environments that are favorable for young people to thrive. But Patrice, these are things that we're not hearing yesterday. I'm not hearing this right now. These are things we keep hearing when we come for major meetings like this one. So how do we practically now start putting them into action? When? When do we start doing this?
I must look at your name. I like your questions, you know. No, but you raise such an important question. Absolutely, absolutely important. Because you see, young people, they come to a meeting like this, and they hear us saying a lot of these wonderful things. And their practical experience is different. There are difficulties, there are problems, and on an ongoing basis, there's discussions about how things can and should be made better for the youth. I must say, I'm so proud of this country, so proud. And I'm so proud of the work that the government and the president is doing. I mean, you know, this gathering of young people with this passion, with this enthusiasm, and with a deep commitment by the private sector, the government, and various other stakeholders, I have no doubt whatsoever that the point you made about not having success overnight, I mean, I don't know how to succeed overnight, or even how to start a business, or how to make money overnight. I can't do that. I've only succeeded over an extended period of time.
Yeah.
So my message to our young people here is that I have no doubt that what I've heard, what I've seen, and you know, the enthusiasm and the passion, and people like yourself who will keep all of us on our toes and say that, but you can't keep saying these things and not doing them. So I'm confident that the youth in this country, all of the opportunities that they pursue, that they will succeed, because there is this stakeholder commitment, and the president and the government and all of the participants are committed to a youth that succeed. If the youth does not succeed, all of us have no future.
Right. Powerful. I want to open the floor, just at least for 3 questions before we are told that we need to leave this set. Just very quickly, if we have the microphones, first 2 there, and a lady, any lady? Yes, there, the lady in green. Let's give them the microphones real fast so that we can save on the time. The lady in green?
Thank you very much. I'm Marie-Ange Ishimye. I'm a medical student here in Rwanda. My question is, if you were given a chance, I don't know if it is a chance, to pay a price for young Africans to be empowered, as in giving them flight to their place of success, how much money, measurably, wouldn't you exceed? My second question is...
She's asking if you're given a chance, whatever price that you're supposed to pay to see young people empowered, how much would you exceed? Is that what the question is?
Yes.
You mean how much money?
Yes.
How much money? Yeah.
Like what would be the price that you'd pay to see an empowered young generation?
The best investment all of us can make is to invest in the young generation to allow them to succeed.
Sure.
So if she says, you know, how much money, I think, you know, all of the money we have, because it's...
Thank you.
Okay,
because
thank
of
you.
time.
I had another question.
No, let's share, because there's so many of us who have questions.
Okay,
do we have
fine.
someone there? Very quickly, please. Your name and 1 question, please.
My name is Stephen Burora. I have a small question that I need to ask you. There is, at times, we as young people have visions and dreams. if someone asks you, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years, you tell him or her something that you feel that you want to be in 10 years. Can you share with us a story? If where you are seeing yourself when at your age, is it where you are now, or something changed, or things changed? Thank you.
Good question.
You know, when you hear these questions, it fills you with a sense of joy that the future of Rwanda is bright. And the future of Africa is bright. Now it's asking, now let me tell you something, you know, two things. Number one is, before I tell you where did I see myself 10 years ago, number one is never wait for government to do things for you. Now, understand what I'm saying. The government, with all of the commitment and the passion and the absolute desire to make you succeed, and their commitment to you, the government has got lots of other things to do. You are so much better placed. You are in the best possible position to succeed and to start. And let the government's job is to create the enabling environment, to create the environment that allows you to grow and succeed. So, you know, when I'm in South Africa and I hear some of my relatives saying, yeah, but the government must do this, the government is not doing that, the government. And the starting point is the government has to do what all governments are doing. And I can tell you we should be proud because many of our African governments are doing excellent, excellent, excellent work. They're creating the environment for us to grow and succeed. Now, where did I see myself 10 years ago? When I was 5 years old, my parents were in business. So my father used to wake us up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we would get in a truck and go and buy fruits and vegetables from the market in Pretoria, in South Africa, Tshwane. So I've always been in business. And we'd close the family grocery store and the family businesses 12 o'clock at night. And I would also have to stand behind the counter. So standing behind the counter taught me what profitability is all about. You buy a loaf of bread for 10 cents, you've got to sell it for something more than 10 cents. You can't, of course, unless if you are the Motsepe Foundation, you can sell it for 6 cents or less. So I always had but of course I became a lawyer because my dream was also to be a lawyer. And when I became the first partner in one of the biggest first black partner at that time, I realized that my passion was actually in business. So the message is, where you are now, have dreams of what you want to do now. 10 years from now, you may have different dreams. And that's fine. But the most important thing is keep moving, keep working, keep growing. Don't ever stand still. Keep being inspired and keep wanting to do the things that excites you and that fulfills you.
Right. One last question. I'm torn.
Good day, sir. This side. Hi.
Okay,
Hi.
go ahead.
This
If you have
side,
the mic,
this side.
go ahead. Yeah.
Hi. My
All right,
name
the
is
one that is on.
Okay, hi.
Yes.
Hi. Thank you, guys. Hi. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right, go ahead.
Hi. Can I just say you are a true leader, sir, and thank you for what you are doing for us, for Africa and as South Africa, sir.
Thank you.
Pleasure. And a question from my side. My name is Kuselo Ntandiso. I work for a non-profit organization, which is R Labs, which is in the Cape Flats. That's just a brief description about myself. But sir, a question from myself personally. I heard briefly about your journey and how it got you to where you are at the moment. But from other people's journeys, there have been so many failures and people have been quitting and just walking away. So from your side, what kind of advice would you give those people who are struggling with those journeys and those business ideas? Just at least three comments you would offer them.
Right.
Okay, let me tell you, I have the honor at times to sit in a room with what is recognized to be the most successful business leaders or entrepreneurs in the world. I won't mention names, and you sit there because you also want to learn, and I also want to hear their stories. And a common feature amongst he was talking about the Giving Pledge that we are part of. Now, the Giving Pledge was started by Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. And Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, and there are about 120 families at this stage that are part of the Giving Pledge. And of course, people like Zuckerberg are part of it, Bezos is part of it, and Elon Musk and various others. But the point is, you will find a common feature amongst the most successful people in the world, and they will all tell you about times when they didn't only fail, but at times felt like giving up and saying, surely this is going nowhere. I can tell you, I can remember times when we didn't know that we'd be able to pay wages, because we had just bought gold mines, and the price of gold was going down, 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 and we had thousands and thousands of employees. So the message is very simple. Keep assessing, keep evaluating your business, and keep making sure that it continues to make business sense. Now, I must also emphasize that there's something called the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Anangwe, you've heard of the Fourth Industrial Revolution?
Yes.
Now, this Fourth Industrial Revolution, it means that, there are people today who pour petrol, you call it petrol here, or fuel, in your car.
Essence.
What did you call it?
Essence.
Okay. Now, there are people who put in your car. They have a job. The money they get by putting petrol and fuel in your car allows them to maintain their family. The technological advancements that are taking place, it's mind-boggling. So you'll find that you will go to a garage and there's nobody there. And because of technology, there's either robotics or artificial intelligence, it can come out, it can open and put in the petrol or fuel in your car. Now, the point I'm making is that you must also be realistic, because some businesses are being disrupted. This world disrupted. So today you've got a business, it makes sense, it makes money, but because of technology,
It will not make sense.
It's gone.
Yes.
So as much as on the one hand you must persevere, not give up, and keep trying, but when it's clear that your business has been disrupted, also innovate and don't keep pursuing the same business model which clearly does not survive.
Right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. Since you already have it, this last question for now.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, hi, this side. His is not working, so I might as well.
All right, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Masilo from South Africa.
You made sure that his one doesn't work, eh?
From the Free State.
Wonderful.
Yes. Now, I read a report that once said that African billionaires have to invest in young people in Africa if Africa is to be a successful continent. And to be honest, that's what the Chinese are typically doing. Chinese are investing in the young people, and in fact, they're going into other countries and looking for opportunities in other countries. The Americans are doing the same through venture capital and angel funding. Now, is this not the time for Africans to practice Africans for Africans and Africa first? Is this not the time? Is this not the time for African wealthy people to come forward and say, instead of having summits like this one and telling us about how banks are never going to fund us because we don't have collateral, is it not the time, Mr. Motsepe, for you to stand there and say, who has an idea? And as a wealthy man in Africa, I am willing to fund this idea. Is this not the time? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanna-
Just very quickly, slide in
you
your
so
question
much.
so that you can answer both of them at
My
once.
name is Eddie Charles. I'm CEO and founder of 14 Limited. It's a renewable energy that works in Kenya.
Yes.
My question is a challenge to everyone who's around here. I've been in such platforms for so long, and we always hear there is so much money that is being put into supporting the youth. Yesterday, I think we left here with almost $800 million being put in youth support and entrepreneurship and stuff.
Question, sir.
Now, the biggest question, is there any way government and all the successful good well-wishers to establish frameworks where we can audit and follow up if this money really gets to the entrepreneurs? Because currently, one moment. Currently, if you go out here, you see the youth who are exhibiting. It's not really the amount of exhibitions we are seeing and success stories we have. It cannot account to the money that we are receiving or the promises we are getting from the World Bank, AFD, and all these
Right.
global banks.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I'm so grateful that you. I was first told that I was going to read a speech, and when I read a speech, 1 minute after starting to read, I fall asleep. So you can imagine if I fall asleep, then the people who are supposed to listen have been sleeping even before I started reading the speech. But I always learn so much from, and that's why I was asking that we should have this opportunity for questions. Now let me raise two issues. If you go and look at the Motsepe Foundation, we have got 26 development forums, which means that KZN, I forgot, in KwaZulu-Natal, there are 3 areas, Ngungundlovu, Utungulu, and eThekwini. Now, in the olden days, it was called Durban, Pietermaritzburg, and Richards Bay. So we meet once a year in a meeting like today, sometimes with 3,000-4,000 people. And part of what we do is more to listen, because I come and I speak, and we have money that we've put aside and that we are using. We have established more than 1,500 youth-owned businesses in South Africa that are doing well. There's a mayor here from the Welkom, Free State. And part of the things that we were talking about is to see how, and let me tell you one of the mistakes we make. One of the mistakes we make is, let me rather say what we should do. What we should do with youth businesses is hold the hand of the owner of the business a little bit longer before you let them go. We give tenders and contracts. Don't give tenders and contracts for 1 year, for 2 years. They can't find their feet and make money with a short-term contract. Give a tender or a contract for 5, 6, 7 years, 10 years, and hold them by the hand. But the last thing I want to say is there cannot be a businessman or a leader who would not agree with you that the best thing we can do for ourselves, for our families, for our children, because you must also be careful. You can't have rich people. You can't, not in Africa. have rich people who are billionaires, lots of money, and they live next to poor people. Can't do that. It's in your interest. Forget about the fact that there's this beautiful spirit that we are taught by our parents, and you feel it every time you change somebody's life for the better. The joy you get emotionally is more joy than any money in the world can give you.
Right.
So we have to, it's in our interest, quite apart from all of these emotional and commitment and the love, but it also makes good business sense to make sure that the money you talk about there, that people talk about, but they don't feel and they don't see, that we together meet and we assess. Last year there was 800 million. Can we report back and account transparently how much of that money went to youth businesses? And what I like most is when in KwaZulu-Natal, there are young business people, 25, 26, 28, who come on stage and say, I got a loan, I got a tender, I got a business, and today my business is doing well thanks to the partnership with businesses that the Motsepe family is associated with. Because that is a test.
Right. Perfect. Good. I need to wrap this up, but on a lighter note, Patrice, you say that your father used to wake you up at 5 in the morning. And today, I'm sure before you got to where you are today, you used to also, wake up really early, work so hard. The soles of your shoes might not have looked like the way they look right now. The question I'm asking you is, do you still do that today? And why I ask you this is for the sake of young people who probably feel like, you know what, life is easy, and I'm just going to stretch my legs and that's what they say in Kinyarwanda.
Well, let me tell you, the people who came with me,
Yeah.
We left South Africa 2 o'clock in the morning.
2 in the morning.
So, we were working the whole night until 2 o'clock in the morning. And 2 o'clock in the morning in the plane, we got some rest. Mm-hmm. As soon as we finished, we are on the plane and we're going to Europe on business. Mm-hmm. So, and of course, I had the honor of meeting the president a few minutes ago. I tell you, he's running. He's got 25, 30, 40 things he wants to do. And that's a sign of a successful, not just a successful head of state, but a successful entrepreneur as well.
Yeah, yeah.
That you always work. And that's why I said, when you enjoy what you are doing, it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
So always do what you enjoy.
Right. Good. And sadly, we have some of us here who don't even own a chicken, and they sleep up to 11 in the morning. You need to wake up. That's the challenge that I want to give you here. So I want to say thank you for being a part of this conversation, Patrice. Asante sana. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you so much. I now hand over to the MC to continue on with the rest of the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you to Patrice and Eugene. Just to summarize this, I just want to summarize this in just one quote, which says, we cannot build the future for our youth, we can build our youth for the future. And I think this resonates with pretty much all the sessions that we've had over this 1 day and a half.